Good evening and welcome to the BBS News. My name is Stephen Iscock and welcome to tonight's episode. Tonight we have the girls' high school softball team play in Lammaline, seniors party with Gavin, school events, council news with Mayor Barter. Over the weekend, the girls' high school softball team went to Lammaline to play in the provincials. First game they played against Fogle Island Central Academy and won 7-4. Second game they played against St. Joseph's Academy and won 5-3. Third game they tied 99 against Bishop White Allgrade, which put Burgell Storm girls first place in their division. Then they played their third game straight in the semifinals against Velmont Academy and lost 9-3. Congratulations to Michelle Ingram on getting the most valuable player and to the team for doing a wonderful job. Gavin is here now to tell us about the seniors party that happened on Monday night.
On October 7th, I went to the World Lions Day Seniors Party at the Community Center, hosted by Chairman Ruth Tucker with other guest speakers like Reverend Taylor, Lions member Travis Dufford, Lioness member Ann Brown, and Mayor Barter. The night started with supper. Cutting the cake with the oldest man and woman. Then draw tickets on prize baskets. After supper, they played cards, then later had a dance to end the night.
Couple of school-related news things on the go for this week was October 7th to the 11th was Kids Eat Smart Week for the Kids Eat Smart Foundation. October 9th was a Kids Eat Smart province-wide walk to breakfast as they tried to promote healthy eating and encourage kids to walk. A breakfast of pancakes and fruit was served to the students upon arrival. In total, 64 kids came out and enjoyed this province-wide event, and big thanks goes out to the snack ladies who come out and help prepare for this event. On that same day, the school had their recycling blitz. A grand total of 10,661 items was collected. The winning team was Superman with 2,080 recyclables. Congrats to the winning team and to all the students who helped keep Mother Earth greener because of this. So Mayor Barter dropped by this week to have a chat, and we talked about some town council news and other things. And before we get to that, I'd like to thank the volunteers for signing up. We're almost got a full board now. So it's nice to see some young ones is wanting to learn some stuff. So I'd like to sign off now as well and say thank you very much for watching. I am Stephen Niscock, and enjoy the video of the interview. Good night. Hello, we are here with Mayor Barter to talk about the new council. She wanted to come in and speak about some items in town, but before I get to that, I want to ask her, how does it feel to be the mayor of Virgil?
I'm not sure, Stephen. Sometimes it's a good feeling when I'm doing things like I did last night with, bringing greetings on behalf of the town to seniors. And other times, you kind of think it's a big responsibility, a major responsibility, with, some big issues for the running of the town. But we have strong councillors and, a strong staff, so between us all, we'll do the best job we can to get things done.
Yes. So you're going to be in turn for 4 years now, right?
There's a 4-year term. Unfortunately, we don't have a full slate of councillors as of yet. There are 4 of us. We're looking for 3. Nominations were called, will be called today, October the 8th. By the time this is aired, that will be finished, of course. But we're hoping that some people are, going to come forward so that we have our full slate of 7.
Yes.
It makes it easier for debate. Around the table, you have different experiences and different ideas. And, when we share those and agree and disagree with each other at the end of the day, something comes out of it that once voted upon, should be good for the town. So we're really looking forward to having our full slate. And if it doesn't happen this time, we'll run another nomination and then figure out what happens after there.
Okay. I'll tell you now that I think I'm going to run.
Good for you.
I think so.
Good for you.
I think because, I'm 30 years old, and I think it could be a nice voice for some of the some of the younger people in town.
Absolutely.
I think so.
That's a good thing. Nominations close today.
Yep.
Make sure you get your nomination in before 8 o'clock.
I sure will. Sure will. Okay, so let's get to the new council now.
Well, the new council is myself and Councillor Gordon Ingram, Councillor Wilfred Porter, and Councillor Rick Blagden.
Yep.
And our next council meeting is scheduled for October the 16th. But I just thought that, maybe I would, come on today just to talk about maybe a couple of pressing policies.
Yes.
That I think probably we shouldn't wait on. And of course, the first one of those is the no water running policy. Winter is very quickly closing in on us. And last winter, because of the excessive running of water, we had to shut down our plant in order to save it. The town doesn't want to, have to do that. The water is much cleaner when the system is working. And so we, much prefer that people in the community not run their water.
Yes.
And there's several ways we can do that. Number one, there's a lot of people who go out of town who leave their water running. Their water should be shut off.
Yes.
And they can call council and ask for their water to be turned on. They can contact council just before they return home and have their water put back on. But turning off that water and cleaning out the pipes does 2 things. One, it cuts down on water wastage for the whole town.
Yep.
But besides that, it's a security measure for the homeowner.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about pipes breaking and
freezing and stuff.
And freezing and having your basement flooded out. I mean, anyone who's had a hot water tank break and then go to their basement to find they're in 3 feet of water knows exactly what that experience is like.
Yeah.
So we really need to consider that. A second thing is for people to look at alternate ways to insulate their pipes. And there's a lot of new things on the go at this point in time. I was talking to a gentleman last week, actually, in Stephenville, and he told me they're working on mobile homes in there, and so the pipes are open and against steel, but they have been wrapping them in some type of foil wrap, and then a heating coil, and another layer of foil wrap. And he said those pipes don't freeze.
Yes, well.
And I know at least of one instance in Burgeo where the United Church Community Hall has a heater around their pipes, which, in my understanding, the pipes are on rock. They always had problems with them freezing. They no longer have problems. So, it's, by doing those little things, we can really help ourselves.
Yes.
Because we're using, a massive amount of water in comparison to other communities.
Yes.
And it increases our cost of the water treatment itself. It increases the cost of chlorine.
Yeah.
And puts an awful lot of pressure on the mechanical equipment we have. And our water system is mechanical.
Yes.
And so we have to use it wisely, I think.
Yeah.
So, basically, the policy says if there's any indication of water running, the homeowner, will be contacted and asked to stop running.
Yes.
If not, town then would have to consider taking more extreme measures, like shutting off the water.
Turn on water.
And then having it restart it once the town is convinced that no running is happening. So, you don't want to have to do that.
No.
Or put on water meters, but if we don't, this is going to be a costly venture for the town. And right now, the plant is working the way it should be working.
Okay.
Our problem at this point, is the chlorine.
Yes.
And so we're working with government to try and rectify that. It's a matter of, putting a chlorine treatment facility on the opposite side of the tank, before it goes to the tank, because we believe that the chlorine is dissipating once it's in the tank. And so we're working with government. We're hoping by 2014 to have something on the go to correct that. So
There you go.
if the community can be conscious of
Yes, the water.
protecting, our water, because even when we get that rectified, we'd have to be saying the same thing next winter, or in 2014, 2015, you now have good drinking water, your boil order is off, but you can't be running your water.
No.
It's like going up to Foodland, buying a bottle of water, and then throwing it down the sink. And that's what people are doing.
Or just keep your finger on a button and leave.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a good point. So that's one. A second issue that has arisen recently is our garbage system. Apparently some people are putting an awful lot of things in the green plastic bags that might not go there. We have a cleanup for 2 weeks in May. But at this point in time, I think we're getting probably moose skins, we could be getting TVs, we could be getting wood, anything that people think they want to throw it, they put in a green plastic bag. Well, a worker has to come along, a collector has to come along and pick this up. And of course, if it's a TV, then by town bylaw, they're not supposed to take it. And but besides that, it's a health hazard for them in lifting and trying to get things aboard the truck.
And especially to now, I think there's actually a tax, a recycle tax that you got to pay. I bought some speakers online, and you got to pay an environmental fee on like stuff like that now, because I think that they don't want you to take it to the dump if it's garbage.
That's exactly.
Right, take it to proper stuff, because some things contains mercury, right? Like a TV, and mercury gets in your water, that can kill you, right?
Yes. And the dump is open if you have, demolition materials or furniture or whatever that you want to place in the dump. The dump is open for people to go up and store that in specific areas. So there's really no need to be putting it into garbage where, you could cause a worker to be injured or whatever. Your garbage that's to be picked up at regular times during the year is really wet and dry, normal household use materials. And so that's what we're expecting. And it's a good practice to keep in mind, because we're gradually being moved into a new garbage disposal system, and which according to government, has to be in place by 2016.
Okay.
And people will be expected at that point in time to probably separate their wet
Garbage.
and dry waste. So
Yeah.
they have to separate their garbage.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's coming up. That's going to be in the very near future, because our incinerator is soon to be demolished.
Yeah, it's fell down there now.
It's leaning and it's quite dangerous. And the government has a policy that says there will be no new incinerators built on the island.
No.
Garbage is being landmassed, I guess, and transported to larger garbage centers, one in Robin Hood Bay. The second one for Newfoundland is to be in Norris's Arm, just outside of Gander. And so Burgeo, under Western Regional Waste Management, will be a part of that system. And we're starting small. We're starting a small pilot now, for example, with Grey River, experimenting with bringing up Grey River waste. They'll be storing theirs into large sealed containers, having them put on the Voyager and brought to Burgeo, picked up by our collector and brought to our garbage site. The incinerator will be taken down, and there will be an open burn pit. Now that was by special permission from the government. We're only allowed to have it in place until the new system kicks in.
Yeah.
And so that it'll be an open burn through a dug pit, and so their garbage, like Burgeo's, will be brought to that pit, put in and burned, and then a layer of fill covering it, and then they'll start again, so that it's layered. And so that's to start soon. We have 2 forklifts actually that just arrived a couple of weeks ago. One is for the town, and is designed so that it will lift under the containers, but then turn as well, so that can be, the garbage can be tipped into the dump. And there'll be a water system down there then to steam out the containers, and then place them back on the Voyager back to Grey River. And their other waste materials like construction, for example, and white metals will be put in a separate bag and brought up to be placed. And so, that's a work in progress, but over the next couple of years, if it works with Grey River, we will probably see Francois connecting into that.
Yep.
And then Ramia connecting into a regular system that brings their garbage over to Burgeo. And by 2016, the intent is to put some form of transfer station in this area, where the garbage will then be separated into, as far as I know now, the latest is wet and dry system, into I guess the back of the truck, one of those like TRA compactor.
Yeah, Cubans.
Yes, and then once that's filled, attached to a truck and hauled.
No way.
And so that's the plan. We're working at the bugs as we go along. We have a sub-regional committee here. I'm the chair for Burgeo, but there's 2 councillors will sit on that committee, 2 from Ramia, 1 from Grey River, and 1 from Francois. And we meet about once a month to talk about waste disposal issues.
Yes, yeah.
And so then I'm the spokesperson for the Western region for this area. And so I attend their meetings once a month and bring back reports.
Okay.
So the process has started, really. I guess Burgeo won't notice it much.
No.
Because there's been no increase in cost. But once we start the actual process by 2016, or as soon as we start transferring garbage out of the community, then we're going to be paying the same as all of Western region, which they're estimating will be about $200 a year, as opposed to what it is
per
now.
household.
Per household.
Per household. Okay.
Yeah, right across the. I think 76,000 householders from the Northern Peninsula down to Francois.
Yes.
Right in through. So that's a big work in progress as well.
Yes. Yeah. So is there any pressing items before the next meeting?
No, those were the 2 pressing items
Yeah.
before this meeting. The water in particular because of our concern that it's getting cold and you know, we don't want to have to be putting pressure on families, but
No.
there was a brochure come out almost 2 years ago now, so residents really have had an opportune time
Yeah.
to look at their existing pipes and you
Yeah.
know, do something either through insulation or through putting in layers of mud and so on.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, we understand that there might be few areas in the community where nothing is going to work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we have to look at all options,
All options,
before
yeah.
we consider someone having to run their water, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we ask the same of our businesses. We ask the same of the fish plant, the meal plant. We ask the same down at the haul out, that people don't leave hoses running, and you know, in the fish market, exactly
Yep.
the same thing. You know, saying put handles on them so that you turn it on while you're using it. You turn it off when you finish it. You don't put the hose on the ground and just let it
No, it's right.
run, right? And so it's being conscious, I guess, of those things. So that certainly was the most pressing.
Okay. What's the town's plans for the future in this term of office?
Well, I guess there's always a plan, because when it comes to council, it's a work in progress constantly. So you really, I suppose, for new councillors, you're coming in on a skateboard.
Yeah.
You know, life is going on, operations of the town are going on while you're coming into the system. And so, you know, water and sewage and waste disposal and those types of things are a day-to-day practice that you kind of got to hang your hat on as soon as you come in. But one of the things, I guess, that we don't have in place at this time is a long-term plan. And so that's something that we want to look at. We want to look at our 4-year term of office, for example.
Yep.
And we know that there's already a list going into that. For example, we have the need for a water line replacement, you know, from the chlorine house or from the water treatment plant down to Midtown. Because that pipe was put in back in the 60s or earlier. So it's old and outdated. And, you know, so that's, you know, it's something that can break out in leaks any day and
Yes.
cause us major problems. But meanwhile, of course, to do that, it's a major expense to the
Yes.
town, but it has to be done rather, you know, more so sooner than later. We don't want to wait until we get.
No.
It's easier to fix something when it's not broken in some ways than
That's
it is to wait till it breaks.
Yes, yeah.
And so that's certainly, you know, a long-term plan that we're working at. We have some engineers working on that this year, and you know, in order to update that line, put in a new line, update our chlorine system, and we're hoping that the engineer is going to have that prepared. That's what we're aiming for the 2014 budget, so that we can get some work done on that. But once it starts, I mean, you know, you can anticipate, as most government projects are, that they're 3, 4, 5-year terms, right?
Okay.
But it's something certainly that needs to be done, that we need to be looking at. So that is, you know, once the hopefully we'll get our quota of councillors, and so we held off on our long-term plan, so that we would have, with the intent that we're going to have more voices around the table, so that we can say, okay, what are the issues for this town? What are the things we'd like to see? What are the things we absolutely need? And let's put a plan in place for funding support or for loan support or whatever we need to do in order to get some of those things done. So that will come hopefully after the November meeting.
Yes.
After the November meeting, when I meet with you, I should have a fairly good idea of what that plan will be.
Okay. Another question I was going to ask you is, will you be able to tell us like some bylaws that are in town? Because a lot of people are not aware of some of the newer laws that were put in place, like as a last term. Like, I mean, like there's one about skidoos on the roads, and is there any like Yeah, like stuff like that.
No, you're asking me this off the top of my head, of course. I don't have the bylaws in front of
No,
me, so
no.
please forgive me.
Yeah.
I'll only, and I won't cite the bylaw because
No.
I could be in error.
Yeah.
The no running water policy
Yeah,
is
it's one.
of the new
Yeah.
ones, right? The ATV snowmobile regulations is not new.
No.
That isn't new.
No.
We've had no snowmobiles out, from the ball field out into
Yeah.
town for a long, long time.
Okay.
Before I was on council this term, and I think probably it might have evolved when I was on council the last term, which was back in the late 80s or early 90s.
Okay.
So it's been there for a long time.
That's fine.
People did come to us this year and asked for us to change that bylaw so that their children could use the ponds to snowmobile. And it was an extensive debate. But we had to check with lawyers and the things that the town would be required to do. I mean, we're a legally incorporated body.
Yeah.
And so we have to speak on behalf of the whole town. So we have to consider, for example, liability
Yes.
and safety issues. And there's a couple of things that we can't do. One is that we can't police those areas
No.
as councillors. We're a volunteer council, and we're not security or police. We don't have
No.
that authority.
That's right.
And so which means that we have to ensure that there's signage up. We have to, we would have had to ensure that the ice, for example, be checked during the winter for depth. And then if there is an accident, if a child gets hurt, it's a question of where the town fits in if someone is not following the laws. And then, there was the issue of how do you get to the ponds? I guguess in hindsight, and hindsight is always 20/20, you can always look back and tell how someone else should have done something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And, but we never put a plan, and when I say we, I say council as a community, never put a plan in place where when we provided land space for housing that we left a corridor for snowmobiles, which would have been the easiest thing to do in hindsight.
Yes.
But, I mean, that hasn't been done.
No.
And we can't ask people to allow snowmobilers over their land.
That's right.
I mean, and we also have a new beautification policy, and I mean, we've been encouraging people to plant trees, put in lawns, put in flowers, and then you get calls, well, we've had trees planted around our property, they've been broken down, and we took the time to plant the flowers, and people are right. You put money into
That's right.
doing up your property. And so out of all of the debate, I think council voted unanimously, but I mean, you can check the minutes on that. We certainly voted in majority to leave the bylaw as it was.
Okay.
And so the bylaw, has not changed.
Yes.
But that is not a new one, it's
No.
just it was a
Brought
new
up.
debate, I guess, it was brought up.
So it was brought up. Okay.
Yes, it was brought up by a delegation, we'll say, in the community.
Okay.
A third one that has come in is presentations. I mean, the council meetings, unless they're deemed or called in camera, which means that council has the right to meet behind closed doors, meetings are public. They are
Yes.
public meetings, and people
So
come
anybody
in,
can
and
come.
anyone can come in and sit down and listen. You can't speak,
No.
but you can certainly attend the meeting and listen.
Okay.
You have a right to go to council office and read minutes. But if you're doing a delegation, if you want to do a presentation to council, there is a process that you have to use. And I won't state that process because, like I say, my memory is probably not as good as yours.
Yeah.
And but I do know, you can go to town office and let them know a week, I think it is, prior to the meeting. Like if our meeting is Wednesday, I think it's by Friday. But I mean, you can check that by looking at the bylaw. That's a
Yes.
date. But it is prior to the meeting. It's a deadline prior to the meeting when you have to fill out an application to explain what your issue is, who's going to be presenting, and then list your arguments. But it gives council time to prepare. For the issue. We might have to look up bylaws, we might have to phone another community council, we might have to phone our provincial association or one of our lawyers.
Yep.
And so that gives us time to prepare for that.
Yeah.
But besides that, it gives people some guidelines, because some people do get angry.
Yes.
We get frustrated when we're blocked by bureaucratic rules and regulations, right? And
Yeah.
so sometimes then people say things that become offensive.
Yes.
And I think on both sides of the fence, our counselors are volunteers, so we don't need to be maligned publicly in a
No.
council meeting over decisions. I mean, all
right.
that does is stop people from applying for council or for taking on that responsibility.
Yes.
And by the same token, you don't want councillors getting mad or getting caught in a face-to-face confrontation, with a presenter and saying things that they might later regret. So it's a two-way
Yes.
street, I guess, of putting guidelines in place that help people to be respectful
That's right.
to each other, but yet be able to vocalize their issues.
Yeah.
So that's, there's a form that you can complete, and the instructions are there, and anyone who wants to do a presentation is certainly welcome. And the process is there for that.
Okay.
I think those are the main ones. The provincial government, of course, has a new Animal Act,
Okay.
and they have some new guidelines as well. So the town has put theirs in line with the department, and to help us do that, we also introduced cat tags
Yeah.
as well as dog tags,
Yes,
so that
good.
if a household cat gets
Yeah.
lost, then you know who owns it.
Yes.
But sometimes, you have these wild cats.
Yeah.
Someone might pick up, and you don't know if someone owns it or if it's
That's
a
right.
cat that's a nuisance cat, right?
That's right.
And so there are guidelines there if people own cats that
Yeah.
they should check out. I think those are the main new ones, but I can certainly look, and maybe for the next
Yeah.
council report I can touch on a couple. But they're all, one of the things we are doing in a very short time, hopefully, is to put the bylaws online
Oh,
on our
perfect.
town website.
Yes. Yes.
So
Good
that
idea.
people then can just go in and
look at it.
and,
Yes.
and have a look at them.
Yes.
And so that will be helpful for people as well.
So for the animal one, that is very good because there is a nice few strays around. Strays,
Yes.
like people do discriminate cats because they think they're sly, but cats are very lovable animals.
Yes.
Actually, last week there was a kitten over at the plant. She was trapped behind a wall, and the workers couldn't find a way to get her out. So they put a hole in the wall, and she put her little paw out through, and then they got her out, and she was only about a month old. So then they contacted me because I worked over there, and I told them that if they ever got a cat over at the plant, that I would take her in. But at the time, we didn't know we wanted another animal. So I took her home, and I was gonna, give her a bath, clean her up, make sure she was clean, and she looked healthy and stuff like that. And I was going to put it on Facebook if anybody wanted a cat, or if not, I was going to drive across Stephenville and take her to the Stephenville pit store or the SPCA. But then we decided to adopt a kitten. So, but like I said, I don't like seeing people trying to run over cats.
No,
Because, that cat might be somebody's
absolutely.
animal.
Yes.
And my feeling is, because them kids that was sporting at SPCA, in my mind, that is just as important as cancer. Because these animals, they need homes,
Yes.
right? And, sometimes they cannot fend for their own self,
No.
right?
And the thing is, I guess it's a balancing act for the town, because we don't have an animal shelter here.
No,
And we have neither animal collector
no,
either. And so any type of of activity like that, like collecting cats or whatever,
Yes.
if it's wildcats, for example, that are, you know, being a nuisance in a particular area,
Yeah.
then it becomes a costly venture
Yes.
as to what we, you know, what we do with them. Like if we had
That's
to
right.
transport them out to Stephenville or whatever.
Yeah.
And we just don't have the facility here in town
No.
to comply with that. So
No.
we thought the bylaw would help in that, like you say, you don't want to see animals hurt.
No.
But you don't want to see them take over like abandoned houses and that, I mean, or
That's
you
right.
end up with an issue like they had
Yes.
in Corner Brook. And neither is good,
Yeah.
you know, health-wise and psychologically. So we're hoping that, you know, that our bylaw complies with the Municipalities Act, which is, I mean, all of our bylaws have to comply, right?
Yes. And another easy solution is if you get a cat, get it spaded or neutered.
That's right,
Simple as that.
Yes.
It's just, I think it's $100 to get it done.
yes,
So you're going to spend that in food for them anyway.
that's right. So you might as well.
Right. And to be honest with you, cats like litter, keep them indoors.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So is
So-
there anything else?
No, that's it for me. I just wanted to have, you know, this chat to, you know, to say hello to the town and say that, you know, as a council, you know, we will work diligently. There's sometimes we're going to make decisions that's going to make people angry.
Yeah.
We'll make other decisions that pleases people.
Yeah.
And I guess that's part of your role as being
That's
a
right.
councillor. But I know the councillors we have are certainly up to the challenge and are looking forward to the work. And,
Yes.
you know, so it should be a good 4 years with community support.
That's good. So I'd like to tell you congratulations
Thank you very much.
on being the mayor of our town.
Thank you.
And hopefully, I think you'll do well. I think you will. So just hopefully now we'll get the other 3 members, and then you could have full board.
Yes.
You have more voices and stuff. So thank you very much for coming in and letting us know all these things, and
Thank you.
come back again soon.
Thank you very much. I will.
On that.